Okay, so I just watched Marvel's new superhero movie, Shang Chi, and I want to talk about it. Up front, I'm gonna tell you, I like this movie. I had a lot of fun with this movie. But the movie I'm talking about is Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings. I don't know a whole lot about the Shang-Chi character. I've been familiar with the character as I remember the Masters of Kung Fu comics when I was younger, but I've never read them. I just remember the character. I don't know too much about the character. So this movie, other than just having a vague familiarity with Shang-Chi, with the Shang-Chi character, I didn't have a whole lot to go on other than recently, I want to say a couple of months ago, I watched a series of YouTube videos where someone was going over the new Shang-Chi series. I think it's called Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe, where every issue of the comic he faces off with one of the Marvel characters or some superhero. But that's really my experience with the character. But the movie looked like it was going to be pretty awesome as far as the when I saw the trailers. It's a lot of kung fu fighting and fight scenes and stuff. And if you watch videos, I like that kind of stuff in my movies, especially superhero movies or action movies. I love having a lot of hand-to-hand combat and fight scenes and all of that kind of stuff. And you get a lot of that with Shang-Chi. So Shang-Chi, if I can say his name right, Shang-Chi stars several characters that I'm familiar with, that I've seen before. Simu Liu, who, the only thing I've ever seen him in, which this may have been the only thing that he's been in, was a sitcom on Netflix called Kim's Convenience, which is actually a pretty good sitcom. I started watching that, I want to say sometime last year. They kept showing me previews every time I turn on Netflix, and I just watched it. Pretty good sitcom. Check it out if you ever have any interest in watching some kind of lighthearted, kind of funny comedy type sitcom, half-hour show. But that's the only thing I know him as. When they first cast him as Shang-Chi, I felt like he kind of had that look, but I couldn't quite picture him as a kung fu person, but he did pretty good. Also in this movie, it stars Aquafina and Michelle Yao, which, anybody who like martial arts movies know who Michelle Yeoh is. I'm still waiting for them to make a version of Taken with her being the main character instead of like Liam Neeson or something like that. That would be pretty good, which she's a very skilled martial artist. She's done a lot of martial arts movies and stuff like that. You've seen her in a lot of stuff recently. But those, those are the main people that I recognize from past things that I've seen them in. But I know what you're wondering. What is Shang-Chi Legends of the Ten Rings about? All right, before we go any further, I just want to remind you to go ahead and look down there and give me a thumbs up, click the like button, and click subscribe so you can so you have me on your list, so when I post up new videos. When you watch the trailers, Shang-Chi is a martial arts guy. He can fight, and there's like some kind of magical looking stuff, but trailers don't really tell you what the movie is about. And the movie actually has a pretty simple premise. Basically, the whole plot of the movie is that Shang-Chi, the movie starts off, he's just a regular guy. Awkwafina character, she's like his friend. She's known him for a long time. I want to say like 10 years or so. And basically they both work at the same place. They kind of like don't have a lot going on in their life. They work at a restaurant or somewhere, parking cars. And while they were on the bus on their way to work one morning, these guys just showed up on the bus trying to take a medallion that he had hanging around his neck. It was like a gem that he had hanging around his neck. It was something his mother gave him when he was younger. These people show up, and this is the scene that you see in the trailers. They showed parts of this scene all in the trailers. And then when they show up, they attack him. And all of a sudden, he has all of these kung fu skills. And Aquafina, who has been his friend for like the last 10 years, she had no idea that he can do all of this stuff. So he has all of these combat skills, and he can fight and all of this stuff. And there's a pretty cool fight scene on the bus. But anyway, after he do that, he come to find out that they did get the gem from him. And then he come to find find out that they're probably going to go after his sister next. So he flies back to China, where he's from, to go and protect his sister. Now, without going into too many spoilers, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. Basically, he goes to China and he meets up with his sister, and then come to find out that, you know, their father was the one that was trying to get this back from them. And it's a whole mystical thing that happens where he's trying to find a location of some kind of mystical forest, and those medallions, which both he and his sister both had one, is the key to her father finding out the location of that forest. You know, the whole rest of the movie is based on him and his sister trying to stop his father from getting to this forest, from destroying this forest. You know, because it's the forest where his mother, you know, is from, where she, not a forest, it's more like a town where his mother is from, where his mother grew up and all of this kind of stuff. So the father's trying to get to this town because he believes that the mother is still alive, which the mother died years prior. He believes that the mother is still alive and is calling for him to go to that town and help him. So when he goes to that town, he don't have any good intentions. He planned on going to that town and wrecking shop and burning that town to the ground. So Shang-Chi and his sister, they're trying to get there. They're trying to, you know, get there and stop their father from doing this, because their father's like he's the bad guy, you know. So they're getting there. They're trying to stop their father from doing this, you know. So the story is pretty simple. It's a serviceable story. There's not much to it. It's pretty simple. I mean, it goes into a lot more details because you find out the history of a lot of things. You find out how Shang-Chi became Shang-Chi, you know, how he grew up, what events led him to being in the U.S. and, you know, not showing people that he has those kung fu skills and stuff like that. You learn all of that stuff as the movie go on, and all of that was pretty interesting. It was pretty cool how Aquafina just had no idea. You know, I wonder if, you know, in real life, if somebody had those type of skills and was trained like the way he was trained, as they unveiled throughout the movie, you know, how do you go 10 years and not show like your best friend that you have those skills, you know? But it was pretty cool. And the fight scenes were pretty cool. And this movie, you know, when I watched this movie, I kind of, you know, I'll tell you up front, I enjoyed the movie. I had fun with it. I had a lot of fight scenes. I enjoyed it. But I kind of had a weird feeling about this movie, because this movie, like, if I had to explain this movie, like using other movies, I would say the movie started off with a mixture of like some old kung fu movies and a little bit more modern ones. Like if you were to take the old school Sonny Chiba movie Street Fighter and mixes it a little bit with some of the Shaw Brothers movies, then add a little bit of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that would be sort of like the first act and maybe halfway through the second act of this movie. You could combine those movies together, give it a modern day setting. And that would be sort of like the first and second act of the movie. But then the movie changes, and it changes to almost if you were to take like Raya the Last Dragon, The Legend of Korra, and Mulan, I would say that would be kind of like the third act of this movie. It's kind of funny because when I was watching this movie, I was thinking back to another similar Marvel superhero that had a TV show on Netflix called Iron Fist. And it's funny because when you watch Iron Fist, there were a couple of things that he was always talking about. I'm the legendary Iron Fist. It's just certain things that character said over and over and over again that kind of was annoying. But one thing that was brought up a lot during that series was how he got his power, the Iron Fist power. He got his power from defeating this dragon, you know. And throughout that whole series, I kept wondering, are they going to show us him defeating the dragon? Are they going to show us him defeating the dragon? I kept wanting to see that. But when I watched this movie, I realized I didn't really want to see that. There was a lot of dragon stuff going on at the end of the movie, and I kind of felt like that was where things kind of fell apart for me. I don't know. Some people may have liked it, but I liked the movie, and those parts I actually liked also. But for me, it was the part of the movie that I kind of didn't really like all of that much, you know. At one point, I was looking to see if Godzilla was going to come on the screen and start attacking stuff, you know. But yeah, that's how the movie ended. With that type of stuff, a dragon fight pretty much. But yeah, overall, I'd say I'd like the movie. I'd say if you're a fan of the Marvel movies or a fan of just Kung Fu movies, this would be a good movie to watch. There was a lot of Kung Fu, a lot of fight scenes, a lot of pretty good choreography, fight choreography in this movie. And it's amazing to, I was watching an interview for Simu Liu. Simu Liu did with one a couple of days ago, and he was talking about how he has no martial arts experience. Everything he did in this movie, he learned in preparation for this movie, which is amazing, because I don't know if he had any stunt doubles or stand-ins for some of these scenes. If he did all of the actual fight choreography himself, minus, the stunts, of course, he did pretty good for someone that has no martial arts background. He did pretty good. He did a lot better than the Iron Fist character on the Defenders, on the Iron Fist TV show on Netflix. But yeah, he did pretty good. Now, as far as the characters, one thing about there's two things I want to talk about when it comes to this movie. First of all, like I was talking about how the movie ended, with a lot of the dragon and the monster fight scenes and stuff like that, the villain at the end and everything. It's funny because a lot of these movies, a lot of Marvel movies, it all, how the endings of these movies kind of all end the same way. All the Marvel movies end the same way. They end with some kind of giant, climactic battle with some kind of out of the ordinary, super extraordinary thing that happens at the end. And this is no different. This did the same thing. But what makes it a little bit, what makes these movies work or not work for you all depends on the villain for the most part. Now, if you look at, like, for example, Black Panther, you had Killmonger, which Killmonger was a really good villain. You was invested in that villain. So it made the fight scene at the end, it really made it stand out. It made the movie stick the landing a little bit, but in this movie, I can't really say that I really cared that much about the villain in this movie. I mean, I cared about the overall story of Shang Chi and his relationship with his father and all of this kind of stuff. But his father himself, I didn't really take to that much. He wasn't that interesting to me. He wasn't like a mustache twirling villain, but he just wasn't really that interesting to me. They tried to make him seem like he was conflicted and he was deep, but I didn't get that. He just seemed like somebody that was misled, But yeah, when it comes to that kind of thing, like the father, how much you were invested in the father, in his character, that would probably make or break how you feel about the end of this movie. I felt like the father was okay. I wasn't that much invested in him. So the end of this movie to me kind of just looked like Raya and the Last Dragon. That's what it looked like to me, and I'm sitting there looking like, what's going on here? So, but, I can't really fault it that much because I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it. There was still a lot of fight scenes and there was still a lot of special effects and all kinds of stuff going on at the end. I just wasn't that high on the end as I was the rest of the movie. Another thing about this movie is, like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't know too much about the Shang-Chi character other than just knowing he exists in the Marvel Universe. I don't know too much about the character. Now, my only experience with the Shang-Chi character is, like what I was saying, is watching those YouTube videos where they are doing recaps of the most recent Shang-Chi comic, Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe, and each issue of that comic, he meets up with somebody. Like, I want to say Shang-Chi #1, he meets up with Spider-Man. He has a little battle with Spider-Man, then they work together. And then another issue, he meets up with Iron Man, Captain America, and the same thing happens. But in that comic, Shang-Chi seems like a all business, no play around, serious character. You know what I'm saying? He seems like the type of character that Iron Fist tried to be. Shang-Chi is that character, in the comics. He's like straight up all business, all about the training and all about, upholding his morals and principles and all of that kind of stuff. He don't joke around. He seems like a serious, real deal character. Whereas in this movie, he was serious a lot of the times, but he still was kind of a playful. His character had a lot of a playfulness to him that I kind of felt like was different than the comic version of it. And I don't know, maybe, like I said, that comic, when we watching those recap videos and stuff like that for the most recent series, that's all I know about the character. So maybe he hasn't been like that the whole time. Maybe in past he was like a jokey type character, you know. But in this movie, he was kind of like a jokey type character. He was serious when he needed to be, but but other than that, other than those times where he needed to be serious, he was kind of like a jokey character, you know. But other than that, you know, I really like this movie. I would say go check it out. They had a couple of good end credit scenes that kind of look like they're setting things off for the future of the Marvel Universe and everything. Left things open for a little bit. But I really enjoyed the movie. I would say go check it out, you know, because it was pretty good. And, you know, in the past couple of years, superhero movies have been few and far in between, and the ones that do come out haven't been that good. And this is one that kind of puts us back on track a little bit. I wouldn't say it's in like the top echelon of superhero movies, but it's still up there. It's still pretty good. But yeah, so you got to go check it out, you know. But that was what I thought about Shang-Chi, you know, pretty good. Go check it out. And I would just want to say thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. While you're here, why don't you check out that video right there? Or maybe that one right there. And while you're at it, go ahead and click that little picture of my image there and subscribe to my channel.